has said that she will be here around a little after 8, and
we should be done by then.
And 8:30 or even 8:30. I think that's good luck to us. So we're going to open it with the audit report, then the weather. We're going to give Joe.
Don't use that word, please.
I just caught that.
Happy New Year.
And thank you. Nice to see you as always.
Happy fiscal New Year.
Fiscal year, yeah.
Are we recording?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. As usual, when we complete our audit, we issue 2 reports. The first report is in the front of your financial statements. It just says what we did and the conclusions we reached. And the conclusions were that your financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, which is what we hoped when going in. We also do a separate letter. It's basically a letter to those charged with governance. It's pretty much a boilerplate. There's nothing strange or unusual in this year's letter. It's pretty much the same as last year. The basic financial statements include management discussion and analysis, which is a plain English of really what happened for the year. And most of what I cover tonight is in those first few pages in management discussion and analysis. Exhibits A1 and A2 are presented similar to a business operation. Exhibits A3 and A4 are your budget basis financial statements, and B1 gives you the detail of the budget basis, and the rest is the notes of financial statements, which provide a little more information than is on the face of the statement. Basically gives some background information. The results for the year, your revenues were 24% under budget at $1,063,000, and expenditures were 33% under budget. Revenues were over, expenditures under, which is a good thing. Your expenditures were $1,436,000. The bottom line, your revenues were under expenditures by $372,814, but you had budgeted a deficit of $1,200,000, and the primary difference is some street projects that were budgeted and did not quite get completed. Now, that's the budget basis numbers. Exhibit A2 shows revenues expenses on the governmental, the business model. And there we're showing a plus at the bottom line of $435,000. The difference is essentially the capital improvements expenditures, which are expended on the fund basis financial statements and capitalized as an asset on the
You're on page A2?
Exhibit A2.
Okay, and what did you where is that number you just said?
It's in the second to last column, third line from the bottom.
Okay, the 455.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a surplus, basically, when you look at it on the budget.
Okay.
The business model.
Right. Okay.
And the difference is basically the capital expenditures, which were expended for budget purposes, but are capitalized as an asset on the business model and depreciated over the useful life.
Got it.
Exhibit A6 reconciles the differences between those two statements. It's a pretty big difference, and it's only a big difference in this year because you had a lot of capital expenditures. I gave you on page 2 of my summary some of the highlights of the budget variances. Your income taxes were $117,000 over budget. You had a reimbursement from WSSC for some damages for streets of almost $73,000, which is not budgeted because you really didn't know when that was going to come in or if it was going to come in. So the total revenues were $206,000 over budget, and those two items basically make up the whole difference. Mm-hmm. The expenditures were $706,000 under budget. Again, the streets and sidewalks project is most of that. It's almost $585,000 under budget, and I guess some of that work will take place in subsequent years.
Yes.
Comparing this year to last year, your revenues are down slightly, about $5,600. And your expenditures were up $791,000. Again, that's capital improvements expenditures. So your expenditures were 24% over budget. I mean, better than last, worse than last year. Let's not say better. I mean, the higher numbers sometimes better, but not when it's expenditures. So your revenue over under expenditures was, on the budget basis, $372,000 in the hole. And I also showed some of the variances from last year to this year. Your income tax is the largest variance in revenues. It was down $101,000, but it's really hard to predict income tax, especially with the wind refunds, rebates, and the study that the state did in 2015 that allocated a lot of money to you in 15 that they did not allocate in 16 or 17. So that's the largest significant variance this year, last year. Your highway tax is up about $26,000, and of course, as I mentioned, you had that reimbursement from WSSC of $72,000. So really, all your revenues up, over, and unders from last year to this year pretty much balance out. On the expenditure side, your expenditures were up $791,000, but $861,000 of that was your capital improvements projects. All the rest are almost balanced out. The cash and investment balances are down $423,000. Again, we have the capital projects to blame for that, but that was a planned expenditure, so it's not a terribly significant item. In summary, your fund balance is approximately 1.7 times your annual expenditures. It's been, in recent years, 3 to 4 to 5 times annual expenditures. But that's a normal trend. You don't do capital improvement projects every year. You do them about 5 to 10 years. So that will rebuild itself over the next few years. Your cash and investments make up 70% of your total assets this year, and they were 94% last year. So use some of your current assets to improve the neighborhood. Your wind income tax liability, that liability back to the state is based on returns filed for 2009 to 2014. I think the initial liability was set up at $129,000 in 2015, and it's now up to almost $197,000.
Is your view from what you've seen, are we kind of at the end of that?
Yes, I would think so. It jumped up a lot this year, though, which was a little bit of a surprise.
There was late payments and things.
Yeah, but you usually have a little time. I would think most people that are going to amend have done it by now.
Right.
So it should slow down.
Yeah.
But the state is giving you a break, and that you're not going to have to start paying that back until May of 2019. So I think initially it was supposed to be this year. But the wind liability does not reduce your budget basis financial statements, just on your business model financial statements. That's a quick run through of the year, the budget versus actual, and this year, last year. And the big difference is capital expenditures.
Right. Could you say a little bit about how you keep us honest, taking random samples of, I don't know, bills, payments, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, what we do, we do some preliminary analytical review when we come in to look at variances this year to last year and variances budget to actual. And we pick a number that we think is significant. Anything over that significant number, we go in and investigate either by looking at invoices, or original documents, or inquiries of management, which we then support.
Okay. So you do go in and look at original documents?
Yeah, and we test all the significant balance sheet accounts, cash and investments. We analyze all the investment activity for the year, make sure that's all recorded properly and the gains and losses are properly recorded. And we see that the bank statements are done on a regular basis, reconciled to the bank, so that all transactions that run through the bank are recorded in your books. And then we also look at these capital expenditures to see, were they budgeted? Is there a contract? Are they in compliance with the contract?
Good. Hey.
But to keep you honest, that's a different question.
Well, have somebody looking over our shoulder helps.
Yeah, but yours is it's pretty small, and most of your revenue is controlled, either comes through the county or the state. So
Right, right.
The risk of loss is there is small. It's on the expenditure side, where especially a big capital project where money could go astray. But we test all those significant accounts each year.
Right.
Any other questions?
Thank you,
Thank you.
as always.
Thank you.
Do you have anything we should be looking out for in the next year?
No, I didn't. There wasn't anything that jumped out. Just the only thing that's moving into is what's going to happen to the wind liability, and I don't suspect anything large there.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you for coming, Joe. Yes,
Happy holidays, sir.
yes.
Happy fiscal holidays.
Okay, Officer Nick is here. How are you?
How are you?
Good. Would you like to give your report, or did you just want to? I don't know.
I can give a quick kind of summary. I don't have a lot to talk about, which is a good thing, I guess. I pulled crime. I'm going to caveat saying I looked at the crime data. I was a little surprised with what I saw in that over the last 5 weeks, from what I call the village and like the greater village area, which I consider more like the southern Chevy Chase, so Southeast West Highway and east of Connecticut Avenue. There hasn't been a single reported crime that they track on the weekly summaries I look at, which is it's the thefts, burglaries, property crimes, and personal violent crimes, so like assaults and things like that. Normally, you would, in a 5-week period in a pretty big area, see at least a few things. I legitimately saw nothing over 5 weeks. Crimes happening elsewhere in the district. I mean, it's a district of, several hundred square miles, but the greater village area, 2 miles in any direction, there hasn't been a single reported crime in that period of time. So it's a good thing. I give the caveat of I was so surprised to see that, where I'm like, I'm not 100%, I wouldn't bet my paycheck on the data about it that way, but from what I'm looking at, everything looks pretty good. I haven't heard any reports from the village as far as people complaining of theft from autos, things like that. Over the summer, it was quieter than it has been, which is a good thing as well. So everything's good. We are kind of getting into a time where, and I'll put this out in the, every month we do our submission for the newsletter.
Right.
Pretty much every month. So this upcoming trend that we would see, Thanksgiving, Christmas time, is like people aren't home, package theft sort of stuff happens. But now it's online work. So what I would tell people in that my monthly newsletter is just going to be to keep that in mind. You can have packages delivered to in your home. That's good. Pick out, watch out for your neighbor packages. That sort of stuff. That's kind of what we see generally this time of year. And plus, you will be cognizant of your neighbors' houses when they're not traveling, see unusual people, unusual activity. Can't call the police, sort of stuff. But that's kind of the same general advice I give every year around this time. Other than that, I think things are good.
Good. That's nice to hear.
Anybody have any questions?
Is it this kind of quiet trend, are you seeing it elsewhere, or it just happened to be randomly?
So, I changed jobs. I have a very important job in an office now where I don't actually do police work. So,
Is that good or bad?
it's good. It's good if you're turning up, not so good when you're like, but up until
On the promotion.
yeah, every time they promote you, you actually become less and less of a cop. It's great. So, the only crime trend, the biggest crime trend in the county right now is there's some people who are on like 270 especially, or like north up in the Germantown area. They've had about 20 vandalisms with BB guns to moving vehicles, where people like, you'll be driving northbound, somebody driving in the opposite direction will shoot your car with a BB gun. And by the time you know what's happened, think about 270, there's 100 cars, then you'll never see anything like that. So that's been the big crime trend that we're kind of fighting, but that's not, thankfully nothing we really deal with here. Different parts of the county will always be busy. But luckily, this area has been, very quiet.
Good, great.
We're grateful for that.
Doing good work there.
Yes, thank you.
I was once taught early in my career, do not take credit for drops in crime, unless you only take blame for increases in crime. Not only take blame for increases, I will keep them out.
Good, thank you.
We appreciate your coming and also sending the report. Does anybody have any questions of Nick? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Finally, on our resident comment period, we're going to start with Keith with the weather report.
I think Nick's kind of a hard act to follow. Plus, he's got good news.
It is
I
good
probably
news.
do too. I think what's on a lot of people's minds is Thanksgiving, the weather on Thanksgiving Day, and right now it looks very nice. But a little below normal, upper 40s, and sunny.
Good.
Oh, nice.
And that, but it's going to be dry, other than on Saturday night. We get some rain, but it doesn't look like we're going to be getting much of that, or snow or ice or any precipitation of any consequence for the rest of this month, going right into December.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions? I mean, I'm still looking for a mild winter.
Yes.
But some snow, well, that could happen. That could happen this year.
Okay.
More on that at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
With bated breath.
Ethics Committee, Mark, thank you for coming. And we look forward to the report. Just for people who are here, Tiffany just wrote she is sick and will not be here tonight. Katya has said that she's going to try to make it before 8:30. And so, and we're hoping we'll be done before then. It won't happen.
Okay, so may it please the council. So that's a lame lawyer joke. So your ethics committee has been hard at work. In fact, we've had 3 meetings in the last 3 months. And we come with you with one announcement and a series of recommendations. The announcement is that we had a very peaceful coup last week where the chairmanship is going to pass from me to Todd Mann. Just so you don't feel too badly about this, I was the one who moved that Todd become chair, and he, of course, agreed. He did pass the required test, the test is required by the state of Maryland, so he is qualified. I don't know whether that requires any action on behalf of the council.
Do we have to appoint him as, okay, so is there
We would recommend, the committee would recommend
okay.
that Todd be named chairman of the committee for the rest of this term.
So does somebody so move?
Yeah, no, he been on the committee.
Yes,
He has been on the, so we don't have to appoint him.
right.
Okay, I will move to appoint Todd Mann as chairman.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thanks.
And just so you know, it has been a pleasure to serve in that role. I might say that seriously. The reason I am moving aside is I'm going to be spending, shouldn't say this too loud, but you don't know the audience, a considerable time outside of the area during January and February. So if something comes up, it's better that the chair be in town rather than be somewhere far away.
And do we know where in Mexico to get you?
Some people do. Everybody knows where to find me. Todd knows where to find me.
Keep an eye on your house.
I guess that's one recommendation. The second series of recommendations deals with the village's conflict of interest questionnaire. I don't know whether you all have copies of the red line version, but if you don't, I have some.
I don't think so, do we?
I don't know. No, I didn't. I do.
You probably have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, some are blue line and some are red line.
I'd like red, please.
You're going to get red.
Actually, I
Blue is easier for me to read.
No.
Are you
really have no
colorblind?
preference.
I'll
Yeah, I hate red
You don't distinguish.
background. I mean, when there's red in a dark background.
I unfortunately only brought 5 copies. So I can
I'll share with
read out.
Arthur.
So we have 2 suggestions to the current questionnaire, to the substance of the current questionnaire. The first change, which is either in blue line or red line, states that the purpose of this questionnaire is to assure that each member of the village council and each village employee, salaried and contract, is free of or has disclosed all conflicts of interest, as that term is defined below. There was thought by the committee that without some context, people might not understand the purpose of the form. So that is the language that we would recommend. And this may have to go through a legal review. I don't know your process, but that is the language that we would recommend in the beginning of the form. We have also added one additional question, or really statement, to be answered yes or no, and that is on the next to last page before the definitions. And that statement reads, I understand the village's interest in having up-to-date information regarding conflicts of interest and agree to report expeditiously to the chair of the village council any changes that may occur to my responses to this questionnaire. I agree, I do not agree. If you do not agree, please provide an explanation. So we thought it was important that people understand that there is a continuing obligation to report conflicts of interest and not get the impression from this form that you only have to report it when you do the form. So that is the second substantive recommendation. The next recommendation we have has to do with when the form and how often the form is completed. We recommend that the form be required to be completed by all candidates for election to the village council, which is currently the case, but also annually on or about the village's fiscal year by all members of the council. Even though there's a self-reporting duty if there are changes in what you filled out, we think that this is a good reminder to make you think of conflicts. So we would recommend annual certifications for people who are members of the council. With respect to village employees, it is our understanding that currently the conflict of interest form is required to be completed before somebody is formally hired. We would recommend there again for all employees, and we read that to be, we understand there are salaried employees and contract employees. We would recommend that not only that it be completed before someone is hired, but also again annually by each village employee. So that's the second recommendation. Finally, we would recommend that copies of all completed conflict of interest questionnaires be sent by the village to the ethics committee so that the ethics committee can assure that they've been completed as required and also can fulfill its duty to monitor and address any reported potential conflicts of interest. So those are the recommendations that we have. One has to do with the substance of the form. The second has to do with the frequency of it being filled out. And the third has to do with forwarding copies of it to the ethics committee.
Yeah, I don't see, yes, do you have?
Yeah, so perhaps some good news. Some of the recommendations have already been implemented. The code has been amended to provide that the disclosure is done annually, and currently the deadline mirrors the state deadline of April 30th. If that's acceptable
It makes,
to the committee.
actually, I think the committee was And we were completely, it didn't make any difference what the deadline is. We just chose the fiscal year because that seemed like a time to choose.
And I
It could
would-
be New Year's Eve, too.
Right.
April 30 works well because then candidates for office are filing at the same time as incumbents.
So the timing of the annual certification was not an issue for the committee.
Good.
And what's supposed to happen is the forms are supposed to be filed directly with the committee. As a practical matter, I guess someone may be just dropping it off in the office, and then Matt would have to
Forwarding
see.
it
it.
on.
We have
Forms have
never,
been coming to the election committee. I have the last couple of years of candidates.
so we have not, I did not realize that was a change, and we have never, since I've been on the ethics committee.
You've never seen
This
one?
Well, this form has been, has happened during the time that I was on the
Right,
ethics
yeah.
committee. We have never received a copy of it, so
Okay.
that's a good process.
So this April, we'll have to make sure that happens.
Yeah, so I think that currently, the ones for candidates for election go to the elections committee. The one for employees, I don't know where they go, but presumably they're here somewhere.
Yeah.
But they should be collected.
Right.
We would recommend that they be collected and copies be sent to the ethics.
And incumbent or committee member, council members whose terms are not up should also sign at that same time.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, that'd be part of the annual
Yeah.
certification.
Right.
Is there any conceivable objection to any of this?
No,
I don't see-
well,
Yeah.
not my decision. But I would just add, the committee has the authority to recommend the form, and the council must approve it, to answer
Right.
Mark's question. So we would
So,
need a motion to approve.
Yes.
Well, and do we approve it amended with this April 30th date?
The April 30th date is already in our code,
So,
but yeah, the
If
form
we
doesn't have a date, I don't
No,
believe.
the form has no date.
okay, so it's, we can,
The form has only those two paragraphs that
Okay.
deal with the purpose and the continuing obligation to disclose.
Okay.
Does not deal with the annual certification.
okay, so a motion to accept the Ethics Committee report
And
I guess
form.
with the...
and form.
With the, and with the understanding that our recommendation as to the exact date is not important than the date that's in the
code.
The
code.
date is already in the code, right?
Okay.
So is there a
Yes, I will
second?
move to accept the Ethics Committee report and recommendations in full.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And thank you, Mark, and thank you
rest
to
of
your
your committee.
committee. I know that they do a good job. Yes, they're a
We
good
hope
committee.
so, and happily in line with the
Elections
the
committee.
officer's report, we have not had any issues that have been sent to us to deal with, so that also, knock on wood, is a good sign.
Okay, thank you. Marty, Elections Committee.
I want to thank you to Mark, too, because I understand you also looked over the election procedures.
Yeah, but that's not a report to them, but I can report to you.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Thank you for doing that. And hi, everybody. We have a verbal report today instead of a written one. A couple things. I want to thank our village attorney, Ron, for drafting the charter amendment that we recommended last month about section 602 of the charter. Section 2, thanks for prompt action on that. And I hope the council will take prompt action on that. That was in part to address the issues we had with the postal delivery delays, if you may recall, to move the deadline for nominations 45 days before the election is due. So thank you. I wanted to see if the council had any questions about the revised election procedures that we gave you last month.
I believe no.
I
No
checked in
one
with
has
some of
said.
you in the intervening month, and people seem happy with it, and the committee is very pleased with that. The third question I was supposed to ask you is, when do you expect to adopt the revised election rules and procedures?
We don't have a copy of them right here, right now, but we can do it at the next meeting.
At the next meeting. The reason the committee was wanting to know is because if we do adopt the longer time frame leading up,
Right.
the election cycle for 2018 actually begins in February, 75 days before the May 10th election is
Got it.
24th. So we wanted to make sure we had the rules and any questions answered.
Okay, so,
So they-
and you've got a copy so you can include those next month?
Yes.
And, okay.
Including the charter amendment that could be introduced.
What is the process for a charter amendment? I thought we required signatures or,
So the charter amendment, according to state law, is adopted as a resolution, and it can be adopted at the first meeting. It is discussed. It is then published in a newspaper for 4 consecutive weeks, one time in 4 consecutive weeks, and posted at the village hall for 45 days. It becomes effective in 50 days unless a referendum petition is submitted by 25% of the qualified voters. Because charter amendments are subject to referenda, I typically recommend you follow the same procedure as an ordinance, and you introduce it first and let it sit over for 30 days and allow the public to come in and comment before adoption rather than potentially afterwards.
right, I thought we had some charter amendments that were just sitting there after 2 years ago, 2 years ago, that we had this study done by those attorneys, and so we kept saying, well, let's not open the charter until we're going to do all of these. So, do you remember those?
Yes.
That wrong question, I'm sorry. Would you be
I
able
have the
to,
report.
could you dig those up for us?
Yeah.
That was the better way to ask that question. And so that we get them all moving. I mean, if we're going to do this, let's do as many of them as we can. I think one of the things I remember was take the word bylaws out, because we don't have bylaws.
That's right.
So, okay. I didn't mean to interrupt your
No, that was
report,
fine.
Marty. This is getting us
But I appreciate
moving
timely action
along.
here, because we're trying to make the election process here not only totally clean as a whistle, but also, so basic and clear that it's just boring.
Yes.
Our aim is boring, absolutely rigorous elections. No drama. Next question I had is, we did the community survey, the council did the community survey, and thank you again for putting a question on this year, as we did last year, about elections. And I'm wondering if, I guess that's Katya is the one doing if Katya could please get back to the committee, to me, and I'll circulate to the committee, the responses to the election committee question, to the election question.
Okay.
Just because we haven't seen the survey results yet.
Okay, I can forward
Can you do
those
that?
to
Yeah, just, and again, I don't need the whole survey, just the election, to see if there's anything the committee needs to address.
Right.
And thank you for doing that. And we are probably going to take, we skipped our November meeting because everybody seems happy with what we did in September and October, for which I'm grateful. Everybody got a night off. And we'll probably skip December as well. And then in January, we'll start the planning. And the plan for the kickoff for the election season, February 24th, is probably to do what we did last year. Remember, we had the open house at Lauren's house? And that, just an open community
Right.
gathering to sort of kick off the election season. So it'll probably be
And remind people about being a candidate.
being a candidate and have information out there on what you have to do, which is not complicated. To
Right.
make the system just as easy as possible for people to run and encourage people to run, because we do want to have lively elections. So end of February, look for that. And that's our schedule, and from there on, we'll be making sure everything runs squeaky clean.
Thank you very much, Marty. And thank your committee. They've done really great work.
They really are good.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Arthur? Oh, no, minutes. The minutes were sent out by email, and did 3 people approve them?
I did.
Matt?
Richard did.
I don't know if anybody, let's then approve the minutes as in the,
Okay, yeah. I approved them by email. I moved to approve the minutes of the last meeting, October 19th, 2017.
Second.
all All in favor? Aye. Okay, financial.
Okay,
Arthur.
financial, we're doing nicely. As the auditors noted, in the last fiscal year, we spent a lot of our reserves on capital improvements. We still have some money left in that account. We do have one item coming up that we have not budgeted for, and that is street signs. There was 17,000 as an estimate of,
So between Joe's replacement of the street
Replace
signs
and repair.
and replacing and repair, right, and then the two Martin's Edition signs, it's expected to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 9,000 to
I thought it was more. Okay.
to 10,000.
Right.
We already have spent 7,000
Oh, okay.
on, or I'm sorry, we've already spent about 2,000 on traffic engineering
Right.
things. So we only budgeted 10,000. So
So the street signs his estimate now is about 7,000 for the replace and repair.
yeah, seven to $8,000.
Right,
Yeah.
right, okay. So when we have a better handle on that, we'll have to make a
Sure.
budget amendment for that. But finally, we're taking a look at our signs.
Yes.
We'll be able to see them, read them. And that's it. We got a good report from the auditor.
Great, yeah. We love that. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented?
I move to approve.
I second it. All in favor? I oppose. Doug?
Just a couple things to go over. The house at 7210 Chestnut Street, the village has issued a demolition permit and the house was removed last week. They have not filed for a building permit for the lot, so we don't know when that's coming in. But it should be coming soon, I hope. We've been talking to the owner and the architect, so they've been working on something, but we haven't seen it.
Tell me which one again?
7210 Chestnut.
Chestnut. Okay, thank you.
that was the one that was in shabby shape that there were a few comments on
Right.
in the survey.
Right,
So they finally demolished it.
okay.
Can I add a comment on that?
Sure.
So just right across the street from me. I want to say that I was there. I was working from home in the morning that they took it down, and it just took half a day, basically. They did such a nice job. They had fire hose water on it to keep dust down. Every truck that left the demolition site was covered, unlike the last developer who worked on Chestnut Street, who was running open trucks down the street, spewing debris all over the place. The folks at 7210 did it, from my experience. I'm not an expert, but I've seen enough demolition.
Right.
They did it right. They were very thoughtful to the neighbors, and I just want to put that on the record.
Good.
That
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
That's great.
No dust, no debris,
Right.
clean job, thoughtfully done.
Perfect. Okay, Doug?
At 3405 Cummings Lane, the construction of that house is continuing. They're adding an addition to the rear. Everything seems to be going okay. At 6702 Melvin Street and 7200 Summit Avenue, both of those projects appear to be completed. I've checked the county website. The county has not finalized their permit yet, so the village won't release our permit until the county does, but that's pending. So hopefully that'll be off by next month. I'm still trying to work with the state to correct or fix the intersection up at Brookville and Bradley. I had another email conversation with the assistant district engineer Tuesday, and she said she's trying to track down, it's no longer considered a repair, it's a reconstruction of the intersection, but she has no idea who's working on it or what the status of it is. So I told her I'd give her a couple more weeks and I'll call her back, but it's only been 2 years, so
So they're moving at sort of speed of light.
I think so.
And we've had dust up at 3407 Thornapple. Is that the one?
Yes, the house under construction now.
Right, and there was temporarily a stop work order put on it until there was some compliance with our rules. And I understand that's been successfully resolved.
Yes, yeah, it was lifted. Yes.
Okay.
That's my report.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it.
Can I have one question on 3407 Thornapple, in a request for a variance? Does the county entertain variances?
Yes. Board of Appeals, yes.
Yeah. So is there a feasible or possible avenue here for that property to seek a variance from the county on where to situate the house relative to the 60-foot?
They could go to the county and ask for a variance of that 60-foot dimension. But unfortunately, because of the shape of the lot, even if they got a variance, it would be very difficult to move the house forward.
Well,
because it's so narrow.
let's
that,
not
the house would
discuss
be
the
20
merits.
feet out.
Right,
Yes, we
okay.
can't.
Practical,
Okay,
but possible.
okay,
And also, the county's process is much longer than yours.
okay. I just wanted to,
And is our process appealable?
Yes,
Who does it appeal to?
the circuit court, Montgomery County Circuit Court,
Okay. And that the appeal, okay,
and so is the County Board of Appeals decision.
okay. Managers report.
All right, cruising right along. So we've received some bids for the redesign of the office in terms of moving the door so that we can delineate meeting from office space. We're probably going to have to add a couple of light fixtures over there so we can plugs so we can plug in the computer, and if both of the desks are going to be over there.
I just want you to know that they are not turning out the lights, but rather the lights are slowly all quit working.
Yes, it's
So we're looking at maybe taking out those and putting in those.
possibly at least looking into getting energy efficient light bulbs for the office. So hopefully that continues to move along, and we'll try to time that with the new office equipment, so it all happens at once. We had our Halloween party, which I think went off really well. I think people generally seem to enjoy having it on Halloween Day, but because it was kind of a new thing that we were testing out, just encourage people to send in their feedback. I think the Community Engagement Committee might be working on a survey to get people's opinions on that and some of the other things that they're working on. Speaking of events, looking ahead, we might try to squeeze in a small Arbor Day celebration when we plant trees in the next 2 or 3 weeks. There is one spot down at the end of Turner Lane where we're going to be planting a nice autumn glory maple tree, so it'll have those nice red vibrant leaves when it grows up. So that might be a good opportunity to gather some people there. It'll probably be a simple thing, but maybe get some cider and donuts or something, and just gather around while a tree's planted, and it helps us get our Tree City USA certification again. One of the requirements is to have some sort of organized Arbor Day celebration.
when is Arbor Day?
So the actual Arbor Day is in the spring.
April is.
But there's no requirement on when it needs to be, so you can do it anytime. And there's very loose requirements to fulfill there. I mean,
Cider and donuts qualify.
it can be anything from a poetry reading to a scavenger hunt to a party to a tree planting. So
Good.
So
idea.
it's make it your own Arbor Day
yes.
whenever you want it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then the other one is we still have a credit with LaFerme as part of our wine tasting party that we had in the early summer, late spring. So looking into some maybe post-holiday party there, something like that.
Drink up the credit.
We have some new welcome bags, so we're working with the Community Engagement Committee to give out welcome bags to new folks that are moving in. And moving on, our new website is complete. It's ready to go live. I just need to, I've been having trouble getting in touch with our current web provider guy, which is part of the reason that we're switching in the first place. He actually just, right before I got in today, he said that he was sorry he hadn't got back. He was away in Minnesota or Wisconsin, but that he was going to get me the information. But once I get, I'm learning quite a bit about the process for hosting the website versus hosting the domain, and what it means that you're pointing in some direction, and it's like a street, and it's all been a learning process. But all that to say, hopefully within the next, realistically, if we get the information tomorrow, they said it'll go live in 24 to 48 hours. So hopefully in the next week or so. So once that does happen, we'll give folks a little bit of heads up on it, because there may be some glitches and some things that need to be updated when it goes live, because I've been trying to, if there's some update to our current website, to do it on the new website as well, but something might have slipped through the cracks. So if you notice something's missing, or you don't like something about it, let us know when that happens, and it'll continue to be a little bit of a working process while we get our feet under us. And that also will hopefully allow us to switch over. I had mentioned this last month, to get an official village email, so we can have manager@martinseditions.org, for example, instead of the gmail.com. We're the only municipality around here that has a gmail.com email, so we own the domain name, so we should be able to do that. And then in terms of snail mail, we have had some issues. Less so, I guess. I've heard less on the last couple of weeks. But in the previous couple of months before that, there were quite a few, and so we've been working with Congressman Raskin's office to get a representative from the Postmaster General's office to come to a council meeting. I gave them a list of dates, including this one, December, January. They're going to come to the January one. So we'll let people know and give people reminders as that's coming up. But the other thing, just moving forward until we get to there, we have a direct line now to somebody in the Postmaster General's office. So they said, if you have an issue, let him know, so that he can address it right away and start to sort of figure out where things are going wrong, what can be done. So if you let our office know, we can get you his email or phone number, so you can then get in touch with him. Marty, right next to you is the new trash can that will be placed on Thornapple. So we're just gonna get
Trash can.
there was some trash that was accumulating along the right of way on Thornapple Street. So we thought that it might make sense. We've already worked it out with Waste Management. It'll go right over there by the dog waste bags. We just want to get some basically some footers for it, so we just need to run to Home Depot so it's just stable over there.
Put a big red Christmas ribbon on it or something?
We can make it beautiful.
festive-
Yes, a festive trash can for Thornapple Street.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that to our attention, and glad that hopefully it'll cease to be an issue moving forward. A couple of contract things. We're still working with some of our GIS bidders. Doug had sent a memo with an updated scope. I've been playing phone tag with a couple of them, so hopefully in the next couple of days we should get concrete bids and move forward with that. I thought this is very anecdotal and not data-based at all, but I thought that I noticed more people raking their leaves to the curb for the leaf vacuuming that just happened yesterday. So it looks like people maybe are starting to get the hang of it and want to try it out themselves. We have one more that's definitely scheduled, which will be the last week of November, so Wednesday, November 29th. And next week, I'm gonna call Lee's Trees to get their thoughts on leaves falling, if it's worth continuing for maybe, especially as Keith said, if we're not gonna get snow, we might get some more leaves in the streets in those first week or two of December. So it might make sense to do another vacuum pickup.
They do a really nice job.
They do, very thorough.
Yes, yeah.
I want to wait for the comments though.
Yeah, Ted, it's fine. Ted,
Go ahead.
Come on up here, Ted.
I'll just say two things. One is about the lighting. The new street lights we approved and are grateful for them. But the second thing about the leaf vacuuming
yes.
was less than successful on the south side of Turner Lane. Twice it's happened that the process is one man with a gas-powered blower comes down the curb, and another man beside him is in the right-of-way, and he blows the leaves presumably out into the street.
Right.
He doesn't. Some of it goes out in the street, the rest of it comes back up on the lawn.
Yeah.
So the ultimate end is that I have to let my leaves back down again after they've gone through.
We will make a note of that.
Okay.
Leaves, trees.
That was, I remember that you had said, I think we had talked about that maybe at the...
Yeah, down the park.
Yeah.
Just after the first one.
Right, and
It's the same thing
it was the
this
same thing happened this
Same
time.
thing as-
Okay.
This guy is coming along with his blower. He blows along very nicely out into the street, but he also is blowing uphill.
Yeah.
Paying attention to that.
Okay. Okay.
Poor guy, he's doing it fast, but it's not good.
Okay. It could be maybe I'm giving bad directions too, so I'll check in with them and see where the issue is there. Thank you, Ted. And the other contract thing to look ahead to is that our contract with Waste Management ends in July of 2018. So I was surprised. I'll go back and double check, but it looked like we don't actually have option years on that one. So
I thought there was an automatic renewal I can't recall. I thought there was something like that.
okay.
It was last year, I thought. Maybe it ran out.
I will.
It may have been like 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I'll double check on that. It might be worth looking into anyway. My own personal opinion is that their service has been hit or miss, so it might be worth getting other bids. But I'll follow up on that and just make sure that I have the correct information, and then we can make a decision.
Do both Section 3 and 5 use Waste Management also?
We are actually, I believe at this point, the last sort of holdover for Waste Management. I think the others have moved on to other waste management companies. So take that for what it's worth. I don't know if that means anything, but I don't think that we've had a council meeting since the council sent their letter to the county planning board in opposition of the Brookville Road reclassification, so I just wanted to, I think we've sent out emails, but just put it out on the record that the council did send a letter in opposition along with some pictures. So thank you to the residents that also offered their feedback both to the office and to the council. I think it was really really important to hear from you to get all of your unique perspectives as well. So moving forward, what the process is, the planning staff is going to present to the planning board on December 14th. It's a closed meeting, but the gentleman that I was in contact with over there said to me that the staff will not recommend to reclassify Brookville Road. So it looks like we're in the clear there. The planning board will still look at it. They may ask questions and say, why did you change that, and decide to go rogue and make a decision to reclassify it anyway. If they do, they're going to have two work sessions between December and February, and they'll come out with their draft plan in February, and it will be open to public comment for 30 days. So if for some reason they decided to go ahead with it, we would see that and have another opportunity to comment to them. But the staff is not recommending that they reclassify Brookville Road.
Did that letter, a copy of that letter and the pictures go out to all of the residents?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We sent it to the residents, and when we sent it to the planning board, we also CC'd our delegates and state senator as well. So tried to get everybody involved.
Did we hear back?
Thank you for doing that, because a lot of residents were really quite concerned about the reclassification, and it seems like you nipped it in the bud or cut it off at the pass or whatever metaphor.
Right. I think we also owe Wayne thanks, because those pictures, I think, really presented well what our concerns are.
Yeah.
So thank you to all involved.
Did we hear back after we sent the letter?
I haven't got feedback from the planning board, only from Stephen Aldrich, the lead staff member over there, to say, got your letter. I wanted you to, basically the information that I just shared with you.
Okay.
This is what the next steps are. We're not going to recommend it.
Okay, thanks.
You won't hear from the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're still, with WSSC, they're still expecting next month to select a contractor for their work. They say that they're going to start immediately thereafter. In the meantime, we have worked out a memorandum of understanding with them, and just today, actually, I got an email back from them saying that they had went through their legal department and okayed it. So we're in agreement on that. So
This saga is taking on a lot, like the lights, of where they were going to do it in the spring, and pretty soon we'll be right back in the spring.
Yes, and there's another project that it's the same thing. The Taylor Brookville intersection here, we've been working with State Highway and Section 3 for over a year now. They said that it was a high priority for them, and just yesterday they sent an email that said that it's now getting pushed back to spring of 2018. So
this is like escalators on the metro.
Yeah, we had it. It was interesting because we had a meeting with.
Just kind of highlight over what the year was and put the new year in.
Yeah, we had a meeting with them out there, and Andy Harney in particular had brought up ponding issues on their side of Taylor Street that they should also fix while they're doing it. And now they're saying there's no way we can do it because the weather's going to be too cold, so we're going to have to wait till spring. So,
Do they know there's like a northern hemisphere where things don't stop?
well, it's also it's shocking to me because there was actually an accident at that corner. An elderly resident of Section 3 was hit by a car at that corner, and thankfully nobody was hurt.
In a car, or were they crossing?
They were crossing the street and they were
How do you
hit.
define elderly?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I don't actually know because it was a Section 3 resident, and I'm only parroting what I had heard over there. Yeah, the fact that didn't that's why we sent another email to say what's the hold up here? We had this accident, and that's when they came back to us and said, well, the weather's getting too cold, so it's probably going to be spring. It is really important to us, and you'll be really thankful when it does happen.
I'm shocked.
So, moving on to trees. I went around with Paul Wolf and Paul Goldberg, our arborist and volunteer tree supervisor, respectively. So we identified 10 spots for new trees, sent around a list to village residents. Did get a little bit of feedback, so one or two of them may change. But generally, I think that's pretty much going to stay the same. We've gotten a couple of people that have expressed interest in the native canopy tree planting program for their backyard, so I think we should have at least 2 or 3 people this year, which is a 200 or 300% improvement over last year.
Right.
And so plantings should begin. I think Paul said he's going to order the trees early next week, Tuesday, so give people the weekend to ruminate over the new plantings if they have any thoughts that come to them. Then he'll go ahead and plant them, and a week or 2 later is when plantings will actually begin. So as we talked about when Arthur did his financial report, Joe Coutreau sent over an estimate for sign replacements. It should be in the $7,500 to $8,000 range. And then I also have estimates on the signs and
The signs, like the entrance to the village signs?
the Welcome to Martin's Edition signs. That'll cost a little over $1,000 for the 2 signs. And I actually have designs that I can send around. I just got them today, so I didn't get a chance to send them to you, but
How do they look?
I think they're nice. I think it's nice. It's his design was a green sign with our symbol in a gold color and kind of a gold outline, and then the same Village of Martin's Editions, established, incorporated, Chevy Chase, Maryland, in white lettering. So it looks good. I think it looks nice, but I'll send it around to you. If you have any feedback, let us know. We can.
Wait, Matt, you skipped by the street light.
Yes.
And what about general comments you're getting? Any negatives?
I think that there have been some comments. I think probably related to the reorientation of streetlights. So some areas might seem a little bit darker than they did before because a light got moved to the next pole over, for example. Generally, I think people are happy. There's a gentleman across Brookville Road that said that it's too bright. I had somebody say it. So it's a change, so I think it does take some getting used to. We have some leftovers in stock, so if there are any areas that really do need more light, we do have that option to fill that in too.
Okay.
So
If we look at the map, they're pretty evenly spread out throughout the.
yeah. When we worked with the lighting consultant, that's how he made a determination based on evenly distributing the lights and evenly placing them on light poles. So the reason that we would have moved them is because there actually were maybe two really close together, then a dark spot, and then one. So instead we moved them kind of equidistant.
I've gotten 2 calls from residents who have just said, finally, these lights are really, really great.
Oh, good.
And I've had 2 people I've run into who said, we really like the new street lights. We like the color.
I think they're nifty looking.
Yeah.
I think it does add some character as well, even if you're driving down Brookville Road in the evening and we have these nice street lights on our side of the street. That I think they look nice.
Yeah.
It's definitely lighter, but not in an obtrusive way.
Yeah, right.
Right, yeah.
And they don't go out like the
Yeah,
ones.
exactly. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Marty?
Knock on wood.
I like the new lights a lot too. I think they're really cool. But I wanted one of the extra lights because my pole is one of the ones that lost a light.
Right.
And it's really quite dark at the top of Chestnut Street. So if you have an extra, I'm putting in a request officially that one of those extras go back on the pole that lost its light.
Okay.
At 7250 Chestnut.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that, yeah. Okay, sanitation.
One last note about WSSC is just I'll send out an email, but for the streets that have been neglected, I know that they're generally just not in great shape, but if there are any specific issues that we can fix, any potholes or something, please let us know. We have the materials to fill that in. So if there's something other than just the streets aren't good right now, we can hopefully make it a little bit better in the meantime to hold us over until we can actually get nice new streets in. Bulk pickup. We had bulk pickup last week, so the next one will be in January, and that's it.
Good.
Questions? Concerns? Any comments from the residents?
Nice work all around.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Right.
All opposed?
Oh, you made it.